All right, what we have here is another open source search tool called Carrot2. It's not a search engine like Google. It's kind of a cluster device, I call it. It takes your searches, run them through search engine, and clusters them together into different types of clusters. Here you can see it says web. That's a basic web search. PubMD is published medical journals, or it's medically related. I'm not exactly sure. There is a manual for this on their website. You can download it or look it up and read online. There's a lot more stuff this thing will get into than what I'm going to show you, but I tend to just use the basic stuff. The reason I use it is I've found stuff on here that I haven't found anywhere else. And because it clusters, it only gives you a few results. So it helps you get more specific based on your search phrasing. So in here, you can search everything from a general term to something more specific. Over here, we see we have options where you can pick languages, countries. Country could be good. Let's say you're looking up election fraud in the United States, but you want to see what's being produced in other countries. You could drop it down and say, what's Germany saying about it, for example. These other things I just leave by themselves. The settings options, I never really mess with this stuff. I just always leave it on lingo. I'm not sure what the rest of them are for and if they would even help me. And as you see the caret symbol here up on the left, it's the same thing. It just, you go there, it does the same thing. And then down here it has more specific search options that you can get into, different ways to look at everything you're doing. You have a cluster count, minimum cluster size, and you can kind of play with those a little bit to specify what clusters you want. I'm just going to leave this on the default setting. I'm going to run you through a few basic things just to give you an idea. So let's say we just look up dog to start with. When we pull that up, the default is right here under dog. You see clusters, it says list. So these are the default clusters. It's pulled in for dog. Dog owners, dog care, clinic, Canis familiaris, family Canidae. Another option is tree map, which looks like this. It's another way to look at it. And as you click on one, we'll say we click on dog care, it'll pull up the list over here of what the categories are. If we double click on it, it'll zoom in on those and it'll pick these specific things. And you can see that these will match what these ones are over here. And then you can get more specific to find that main one you're looking for. It also, I can zoom in and out on it to go back to where I was. Now, pie chart's the one I tend to use, just my preference. Here's what it looks like. It starts out with the same idea. You pick something like dog breed, pulls up the list, then it expands it out like this into these different categories. And as you can see here, there's 6 categories. And then you have all these different articles. So under these categories, dog history, domestication, it shows that one. Now you see these circles with the arrows. You go here and you got this white arrow. If you click that, it'll re-expand these ones. So we'll just go back to list, see where it says dog. Now let's take one of these. Let's say we're just going to look for dog training. Now I know this isn't the kind of stuff you're going to look for. It's just to give you an idea how it clusters together. Now it goes down to more specifics, training courses, mandatory dog, American Kennel Club, Caesar Milan, detection dogs, guide dogs. How about dog training for the deaf? See, it's still pulling up a lot of documents here. Ear, books, English, Gettysburg College, apparently they have something on it. Let's see what they have. A survey of the impact of owning a service dog. And then we have things here about border, cat, descended. Let's see what descended says. Dog descended from an ancient, now extinct wolf. So let's get more ideal. Let's say we're looking for riots in Portland, Oregon. This is one of those places where you don't necessarily want to use those search terms I put out before to narrow things down. You want to use general phrases or statements. Now we have here the Gospel Trump 1881, or Gospel Trumpet. Why did that come up there? Maybe if you read these, you'll find out there's some sort of riot. Saint. Explosion. Here we go. Controlled detonation chamber. Riots in Portland. Wikibooks. Riots in downtown Portland. That one's very specific. 9 different ones. The reason I use this sometimes is I was looking up stuff on people, well-known people, or information I already knew, and I was using actually exact phrases out of titles of links that I couldn't find on Google or Start Page, Yippee, anywhere else, and I could find them in here. Sometimes you look up military operations. There's stuff on military operations, not this one, but other lesser-known ones I've looked up and found items on this shortened list, because you can see some of these only have usually less than 10 documents. I think you can make settings for more. This one has 30. And I was finding one or two articles I couldn't find anywhere else. The story of America's efforts to overthrow Castro, National Archives, so direct links to National Archives. This one just says December. And Bay of Pigs invasion, this all has to do with Castro. Coup d'etat. Maybe you're looking, there's specifics on Brazilian coup, 53 Iranian coup, 54 Guatemala, 76 Argentina. Understanding what allows species to persist, what does that mean? Designed to do with the Bay, that's Bay of Pigs. Identify mechanisms of persistence for ground lizards. See, I'm not sure why that pulls that up. So sometimes you're going to get stuff like that, but you know what? You get that in Google too. And it's very simple. And then all these other things like the tree map or the pie chart are just, what do you want to use? Do you like looking at lists with files like you're looking on a computer? Do you want to see something with more color? Now, I'm not sure if you can see this on the screen. I won't until after I do, but you notice here it says United States. It highlights when I go on there. But you can see in all these different blocks, you can actually read what's written under them if you're looking at it on your computer. If you're not seeing it right now, when you get on Carrot2, you'll be able to see it and you can tell what it says. So under assassination, I'm going to move over here to history, but under assassination, I can see it says assassination attempts of Fidel Castro, Bay of Pigs invasion, Edward Lansdale, the JFK assassination, Cuba policy, and Operation Mongoose, which is right there. Boom, there's the title I just read. Edward Lansdale. So you can get different things like that. Let's say you want to look up the Republican Party, party leaders, and you just search that. Let's see what we get. Here's the Wikipedia page for Republican Party, the history page, Trump, affiliate of the Republican Party. And you'll notice this is searching everywhere. Primary is pulling the United States because typically where you hear Republican Party, but there's probably stuff in here in other places. Biographical sketches, there's a small one. Chicago and Cook County officials, Republican directory and sketchbook. Interesting. Policy committees. So it's only pulling in based on what you're putting. So let's go back to a list. For Republican Party leaders, we'll see we got probably 20, 25 categories with 2 to 15 documents, maybe 17. If we knock that down to just Republican Party, we'll probably pull up a similar amount of hits, but it gets more general because our search is more general. Like here, leaving, that might be leaving the Republican Party or about people leaving the Republican Party. And then if we back it down to just say Republican, let's see what we pull up there. And we'll look at the pie chart so we can go back and take a look at another one. Political party, Republican Party, history, Republican senators, IT Trust Digital Library. Let's see what that's got. If we look at that, proceedings of the Republican National Convention, Republican Magazine to promulgate and perpetuate Republican principles. That ought to be interesting. And then one of the things you can do too here under settings, oh wait, maybe it's this one here. Yeah, so to go back, let me go back here to list. Okay. And then I'm going to just research this so I get the general pull. Okay, let's try something that had more. So you can see here, it's got the icons. Like here, this is a Wikipedia. It's got the W. This is from Capitol, the website, the GOP website, a Gov site. You can turn those on and off. The icons, you can see them clicking on and off there. Show sources. So like, if you look at this one here, see how it says Google. This is base. This is Wikipedia. If you shut that off, it'll get rid of those. Because you can still tell depending on if you have the icons. You can show search ranks. So right here, see next to Republican, the number 3, next to Republican, number 7, National Republican 9. That shows where they came up in the search list based on the engine they're going through. Show the clusters to which they belong. So you see between Google and 7, nothing. You turn this on, you have Republican, National, and American. And then you can also have open links and new tabs. And for these ones here, the clusters to which they belong, if you click, if we click on America, you'll start making changes and stuff that you're looking at. So this is real simple. What this is really great for is when you're looking up specific phrases and terms and you don't want to do the add, subtract thing or quotes. So let's look at something else. How to change a car battery You're going to find stuff on that too. You can find how-to stuff in here, but it's better as a research tool. You will find useful information on how-to stuff, but I have never found anything under how-to I couldn't find in a normal search anywhere else. And typically, if I'm looking for a how-to, I'm going to use those different tools for add, subtract, include this, add this in the title. I'm going to use those to make sure I get what I want. And here we're looking for things we want to know about. So research papers on voting history. And me misspelling. I do that a lot. Research papers on voting history. So if you want to look specifically research papers, and we'll pull up these lists. And then you can get in this one specific to the United States. Now, if we add it in United States, let's see what that pulls up. Legal, president, primary, laws. These will be laws related to it. Voting data. Down here we have voter ID laws and turnouts. So the idea is just play around with this, throw in things you want to look for. Here's what I use it for. If I'm looking on the internet, like here's the internet. Let's say I'm looking for, this is the type of thing I look up, elections in Brazil. And I use that and go to news to look for any current information that might be going on. You know, here's one. International Business Times 1 day ago. This article shows Brazil's Petrobras plunge. It's a state-run oil company. So I would just take something like this. I want to know more about them instead of just searching them in general. Because here's why I don't want to just search them in general. For me, I already know what these results will look like. Which I'll get rid of the comma. You get all these general things that may or may not be related to it, you know, carbon future, there's some stuff like that. If you go to news, it's probably only going to pull up that same article or something about stock market, etc. So we'll see if over here we find something more specific about these guys. So we can see oil and gas. I like the pie chart. So I can scroll through the oil and gas. And one thing I didn't point out, see how it says oil and gas 12 in parentheses. It's just like this main file page. It shows you how many docs there are. So it's the same thing. Tree map does the same thing. You probably saw it's a little more noticeable there. Here's a paper from their website on them. Largest natural gas discovery to date off Brazil. You'd look that up and see where it is. What else do we got down here? Expansion of agribusiness. So we're getting some more specifics. You know, and we got our president category, Operation Car Wash, investigations implicate administrative members of state-owned. Okay, see, now we're finding some more stuff. So anyway, my point is by taking a statement like this, Brazil state-run company, Petrobras, we can go down here and find some more specifics that we wouldn't find as easily in a Google search. Like we're finding stuff about investigations and things that may have been going wrong. OPEC, that's a given. They're an OPEC nation, I believe. So you find that kind of stuff. And then we'll go over here. And that might be the same investigation one. It could be another link. And then we got what makes largest natural gas discovery. We saw that one before. Let's go over to CEO. There's Ben Line worked for Marenco to Brazil since the age of 50. So that's about a guy that worked there. Here's the Business Times article. And then when you open these up, they'll open up the source document off the internet into a new site. So here's from the Business Times about stock plunge. So we'll go to one here. Let's go back to this one because it's bigger. Scroll down. Let's see what we find. There's stock prices. 2019 Brazilian oil and gas report, and that may inspire you. And like, there's regulation from 2021. It may inspire you to say, well, based on that article we're reading and that investigation they have, do we see a difference in change in their gas reports and their gas regulation laws? Is there a change? That's the kind of stuff I look into. But you can do that for anything else. So let's say we're looking up active shooter. Okay, it's going to be too general to find too much. You could find some general stuff. Active shooters on campus. You can find some different campus stuff. Here's some active shooter training that it's clustered together in that category. So we could get more specific and say active shooter training. See what we find there. How to Respond by the Homeland Security. Here's a Wikipedia article on it. This is a training site. Here's a Google response, Wikipedia again. Analysis of training in law enforcement. Active shooter, how about 2021? Sometimes you just look up years and see what's happened. Active shooter responses, how to respond. Hostile event responses. Okay, so let's see. Retrieved in January. Shoot for the stars, aim for the moon. I don't know what that is. Black Widow film. Maybe they have an active shooter in it. Over here, incidents. Suspect in Deming active shooter incident is killed by police. And we can see here it happened in February 3rd, 2021, or at least that's when the article was written. Here's a study on the physiological assessment of virtual reality-based active shooter experiments, or incident experiments. Shots fired at a mall, 13 February. So you can find these supporting documents, articles, news articles, studies, PDF files, all this stuff. I don't use this to look for day-to-day news if I was going to report something, but you may find things. Active shooter PDF. Let's see, does it pull up PDF files? Look at that, booklets, wiki shooter. So some of these are PDF files. So if you want a specific PDF file, you're looking for things on PDF files to share, like I used to do a lot of leadership development training. I used to help a guy on his website. So look up leadership development, PDF. And then I would plug up there a lot of his leadership stuff. What is leadership development? Programs, effective leadership, that's the kind of stuff I'd look for. The Path to Greater Effectiveness. Sounds like a good title. Open it up. This is one of the ways I used to find this stuff. It's a nice looking PDF. And then I'd say, well, it's pretty long. I can tell that already by the scrolling, but I would go through and read it. Let's say I already said, I probably want to read that, but it looks too long. Let's try something else. How about Why Leadership Training Fails and What to Do About it? That's a good article. That sounds like something good to read. Got a bigger scroll bar here so I can tell it's a lot less pages. And then I would scroll through and check it out. So you can look for other files. Let's see. I don't know. I don't think you can look up things like GIFs or pics. Maybe you can. I mean, it does search engines. So that's a general idea. Let's try one last one. Intelligence training. Because that ought to be fun, right? Let's see what we got here. Intelligence training, intelligence rising, joint intelligence training. That's from Wikipedia, though. So we have fluid intelligence courses. Let's see what we can find. Intelligence courses. We have foundation training online intelligence course. Okay, let's see what it is. Intelligence 101. Intelligence analyst is a learned skill. Well, yeah, you do have to learn it. Spying and espionage. Let's see the quality of their products. So this is just a simple website with a few simple articles. Let's see what else we have. Intelligence operations. Training control centers operate incident diagnosis. Anyway, you get the idea. Remember, there's the tree map. Some people prefer this because they can see what's underneath. It kind of annoys me. The list one isn't bad. It gives me a general idea. It's how it defaults. You can go over here to the cluster workbench where we can do desired cluster count. It says, let's see what it says on the question mark here. Number of clusters to create. The larger the value, the more clusters will be created. Okay, so right now it's probably on around 20. It's on 30. That's what it defaults at. Minimum cluster size. Number of documents in each cluster. So we had 2. Let's say we bring that up to 10. And let's just do 10. And then try intelligence training again. And see what we find. Now look at those results. I have less overall results, but I have at least 10 documents. This one has 93. So that's noticeably different. So intelligence training, 93. And I got more results. So play around with those two, check your results. Especially what I did is when I used to play around with the results and stuff, I would look at like things I knew very well. things I completely understand, like my job, my career, hobby. Those things might help you. There's all kinds of stats and stuff you can look at in here. But I will have this up here. And just so you know, these are the types of videos I want to start doing that I'm hoping help you. So please give me some feedback, not just on whether or not you like the Carrot2 tool that I'm showing you here, where we're searching in, but what do you think about having a video like this? This is something I should have done for the tweet map, but this is what I want to do for more OSINT tools and other training in the future.